broke out. The journal John Bull wrote,
"Blood is said to be thicker than water, and we doubt whether all the water in the North Sea could obliterate the blood ties between the Battenbergs and the Hohenzollerns when it comes to a question of a life and death struggle between Germany and ourselves."
On October the 30th, Prince Louis resigned. But all these preoccupations were very remote from the urgent needs of the expeditionary force. On August the 7th, the Prime Minister requested Parliament to sanction an increase of the army by 500,000 men. The response was immediate and impressive.
War had been declared, and the following Sunday I went with a friend of mine into Shepherd's Bush Empire to see the picture show there, and at the end of the show they showed the fleet sailing the high seas and played Britons Never Shall Be Slaves and Hearts of Oak. And you know, one feels that little shiver run up their back and you know you've got to do something. I was just turned 17 at the time, and on the Monday I went up to Whitehall, knew Old Scotland Yard, and enlisted.
By September the 5th, the Prime Minister announced that between 250,000 and 300,000 men had joined Kitchener's army. 2 days later, the figure was corrected. It was 439,000. The patriotic fires burned high. A letter to the Times cried out,
"Reform Club, Pall Mall. Sir, yesterday afternoon, while Lord Kitchener was telling of the bravery of our wounded and dead, while he was asking for men to take their places, every lawn tennis court in the space near me was crowded by strapping young Englishmen and girls. Is there no way of shaming these laggards? The English girl who will not know the man, lover, brother, friend, that cannot show an overwhelming reason for not taking up arms, that girl will do her duty and will give good help to her country."
54 million posters were issued. 8 million personal letters were sent. 12,000 meetings were held. 20,000 speeches were delivered by servicemen or ex-servicemen. By the end of 1914, 1,186,337 men had enlisted. And this was not all. Canada's position had been made clear long before the war. In 1910, her Prime Minister said,
"When Britain is at war, Canada is at war. There is no distinction."
The Canadian government offered a contingent of 25,000, but over 40,000 men came forward in less than a month. Their chronicler, Lord Beaverbrook, wrote,
"No mere jackbooted militarism inspired them. They sought neither the glory of conquest, nor the rape of freedom, nor the loot of sacked cities. They came forward, free men and unconstrained, with a simple resolve to lay down their lives, if need be, in defense of the empire, their empire too."
As with Canada, so with Australia. On August the 3rd, the Australian Treasurer said,
"If Britain goes to her Armageddon, we will go with her. Our fate and hers, for good or ill, are as woven threads."
Australia offered her navy and a contingent of 20,000. New Zealand also offered her navy and 8,000 men, a higher proportion than any other dominion. South Africa joined in. Men came from all the colonies. The martial races of India gathered at the summons of the drum. The empire was at war. This was something that Germany had not catered for. The Swedish explorer Sven Hedin, visiting Germany in October, spoke for her outraged feelings.
"The two Western powers of the Entente bear the responsibility for having caused the dance of death to involve the whole globe. Canadians come in their ships from America, Turcos and Senegalese Negroes from Africa,
and poor Hindus and Gurkhas, bronzed by the sun of India, lie freezing in the trenches. And lastly, Australia and New Zealand are sending their contingents. And what is the purpose of such a worldwide levy of warriors? Why? Germanic culture is to be uprooted from the earth.
Victorious, yet thwarted of total victory, Germany set her teeth and hardened her will. At the end of October, the president of the National Bank in Berlin told the correspondent of the New York Sun,
"It is a fight between England and Germany. To the bitter end, to the last German if need be. England has wanted it, so let it be. We want no quarter from England. We shall give none. Now it is death, destruction, and annihilation for one or other of the two nations. Tell your American people that. And say the words do not come from a fanatic, but from a quiet businessman who knows the feelings of his people. Tell America not to be misled by peace talk. There is not going to be any peace. This will be a long war."
In an ugly mood, the nations settled down to fight it out. In the crude trenches, men dug for shelter as deep as they dared. They learned to suffer the companionship of mud. The manhood of Europe discovered a new way of life, with death never far away. They were surprised to find that Christmas had overtaken them. British soldiers listened with wonder as the carol, Heilige Nacht, arose from the German trenches. Here and there they saw Christmas trees go up. The next day, it was just the sort of day for peace to be declared, said one British officer. Suddenly, without a word, British and German soldiers got out of their trenches and began to walk towards each other.
The whole of no man's land, as far as we could see, was grey and khaki. There they were, smoking and talking, shaking hands, exchanging names and addresses after the war to write to one another.
The British soldiers showed the Germans the handsome brass gift boxes which they'd received from Princess Mary, each containing tobacco and cigarettes. The Germans had pipes embossed with the head of the Crown Prince, Little Willie of the English cartoons. When the Germans started to bury some of their frozen dead, the British had another shock. The inscriptions on the crosses.
They would put, the Germans, "For Vaterland und Freiheit," for fatherland and freedom. And I said to a German, "Excuse me, but how can you be fighting for freedom? You started the war, and we are fighting for freedom." And he said, "Excuse me, English comrade, camarade, but we are fighting for freedom, for our country." And I say you also put, "Here rests in God an unbekannter, held. Here rests in God an unknown hero, in God." Oh yes, God is on our side, but I said he's on our side. Well, English comrade, do not let us quarrel on Christmas Day.